All right. Hey there, and welcome to today's episode. Today, I want to answer a question that was sent in by a viewer on how to overcome the disappointment or guilt or shame about having an OCD and anxiety spiral or experience during an important event in your life. And so, really, the main perception being, OCD and anxiety kind of ruined this event or this experience, and and all the ramifications of that. So, thank you so much to the viewer that sent this in. And before we dive in, if you don't know me, my name is Matt Codde, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker and the founder of Restored Minds. If you're looking for help on your journey to recovery, I have some links down in the notes for you to check out, as well as you can head over to restoredminds.com and take our free assessment that's now available. Also, if you are benefiting from the show and you enjoy this content, please help us out real quick by liking, subscribing, and leaving a nice review on iTunes and Spotify. So let's go ahead and dive in today. So I'm going to go ahead and actually read through this, because I thought it was an amazing question. And I want to talk into several points of it. So I'm going to be doing something a little bit different on this episode. I'm actually going to be reading through the question more in depth and then talking about certain points. And if you are someone who has questions yourself that you'd like to send in to consider for me to consider for potential future episodes, please do so. You can send it to support@restoredminds.com. So, yeah, the email reads, "Hi Matt. One topic I thought might be interesting to cover would be how you move on from the disappointment that OCD managed to ruin a special event or memory. Mine was a vacation I was looking forward to for years, despite the best intentions and efforts. OCD took over, and I spent the whole time in the OCD fog trying to manage it and had very few good memories of the trip. In fact, I don't really like to think about it because it brings it all back up. I've learned a lot since then, but the disappointment is strong, and I feel like I don't want to plan future vacations in the fear of that might happen again." And I'm kind of summarizing there at the end. And so can totally connect to this. I think when I read it, I was like, yeah, I totally understand how this person feels because I've been there. And I'm sure if you're listening to it, maybe you've been there as well. The idea is that a lot of times when we're going to be doing something fun, right? Something special, right? A vacation, right? Nice outing, going to a wedding, or, maybe it is our wedding, or, children being born, right? Major life events. A lot of times we can put this, we have this anticipatory anxiety, right? So we anticipate, right, anxiety. So we get anxiety about having anxiety. And the anticipatory anxiety about, well, am I going to have intrusive thoughts there? Am I going to have these feelings of anxiety come up? And then if we do have those experiences in that, we can have like regret and shame and guilt over having that experience and believing that that experience then tainted what could have been, a fun event or an event that we, would have really enjoyed otherwise. So I totally understand that feeling. I just want to validate it for a second because I've been there. I can remember, again, hoping that the thoughts didn't show up in certain events, or like hoping anxiety didn't show up. And if it did, really catastrophizing it in my mind. And then feeling like, well, I shouldn't even look forward to events in the future because, this just we can show up out of nowhere. And, you seem very out of control of your life. What needs to be realized to transcend this is that it's not about, number one, it's not necessarily about how you feel all the time on whether or not that's not always the most important thing. Sometimes what's the most important thing is that you went and did whatever it is that you're going to go do. You showed up, right? Even if you don't necessarily, if you remember the event as like, hey, I was not feeling good, if you were there with loved ones and all of that, and they remember you there, like, you were there, right? So like if you're a parent, right, for instance, and you don't necessarily feel like you feel anxious or you feel distressed or depressed, your kid isn't going to remember whether or not you felt anxious or happy when you showed up to their soccer game. They're going to remember that you were there, right? So going to continue to live is important. Now, obviously, I'm not suggesting that you just, trek through and just keep going no matter what, because it's like, yeah, we want to actually learn to get to the state where we're in these higher levels of being, right? States of trust, peace, love, neutrality, even. And how you get there is it's not about managing the symptoms. So one of the things that this individual that I want to communicate to the individual writing this slash anyone that's experienced this is it's if you're focusing on not having thoughts and feelings, you're indirectly going to do compulsions that are going to keep the loop going, right? So the mere intention of I don't want these thoughts and feelings to happen while I'm on vacation is in almost in a weird way going to create them, right? Because you're so resistant to them, and it's just like saying I really don't want to think of a white bear. Well, the very intention of trying not to think of a white bear creates the thought of the white bear, right? So the intention of not wanting these experiences, and then that's what's going to make or break the good vacation, is putting how you evaluate the vacation or the experience, whatever that is, totally out of your hands, because you can't necessarily control what thoughts pop up or how you feel all the time. What you can control is what you do when those things happen. And it's not fair to evaluate whether or not that was a good vacation or not, because at the end of the day, you didn't know what to do at that time. Like, you did your best. You did your best. And what you do is you refine and learn. And as you refine and learn, you now have different skill sets. That's why we have something like taking back control. That's why my main program exists, is to not only bring people the skills and have them available right on an app on your phone, but also have live support. People log into group on vacation, and so they prevent themselves from spiraling out, right? It's having support, having the tools, having the guidance. You evolve yourself, and then you try again. And you know what? Like, maybe you went on a vacation and maybe you felt every day was bad on the first one, and then maybe you were able to get 2 or 3 really good days of the next one, and you grow and expand and expand and expand. And it's not that you should never shame yourself for your past, because you did your best. You can't shame yourself for doing your best. And if you were trying to manage the symptoms because that's what you thought was the best thing to do, well, you learned that created that experience indirectly. And then you revised the strategy. If you keep doing the same thing again and again and again, that's obviously going to be a problem. But what we want to do is learn from these experiences and refine our strategy and master the skills to make sure we're responding to thoughts and feelings correctly that aren't creating this loop that's allowing it to spiral and build. That's really what we want to do here. It's not about, you have every right and you should look forward to the future with hope and optimism, because this is a skill set that you can master. Trying to do it all on your own, 100% not advised, not the route that I would tell anyone to go. I know, despite me saying that right now, the large portion of people are going to go do that. And I know, because I did that for a long time, until I finally was willing to let go of my pride, thinking that I was going to figure it out all on my own, and say, hey, you know what? It's actually way better to learn from someone and to have guidance in my life and to have support and people that understand this, because it takes the whole burden off of me. And that's really the benefit of having the support and guidance, is that, you don't carry the whole load yourself, but also that it shortens the amount of time that it takes you to really learn this, because it's way easier to learn it from someone who, from people that already know how to do it, right? And that's just the history of humanity. We know that, right? The reason that we teach people things is, and then we have school and we have all these things, is so we don't have to learn things again and again and again, and we can build off it, right? That's the beautiful part about it. So, but yeah, this was an amazing question, and I totally connect to all of the emotions, whether it's the anticipatory anxiety leading up slash the experience of feeling the, the dread and overwhelm during the experience, because you have the pressure of trying to feel good during vacation, which tends to create more resistance, which actually causes more of a spiral, and then the regret, shame, and guilt after. And I'm hoping that I was able to kind of cover all 3 points there of the anticipatory anxiety. We have to recognize that already, and then really move into letting go of the fear of the upcoming event. During the event, we have to measure how we're actually doing good or bad correctly, and make sure we're not doing things that are feeding the loop. And then finally, the guilt and shame, we have to learn from our past so that we don't replicate it. And so but that doesn't mean that because we had a bad experience, we give up hope on the future. It means that we refine, we learn, we evolve our strategy, and we put into place the things we need to not repeat the past. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. Great question. If you ever want to submit in a question for a future episode, feel free to do so. Again, at support@restoredminds.com. With that, wishing you a great day and a great week, and look forward to seeing you soon. Hey there, thanks so much for watching that episode. If you found it helpful, we have some links to some other episodes that we think you might like as well. And if you're looking for help on your journey to recovery from fear, stress, and anxiety, either check out the links in the notes or head over to restoredminds.com. Thank you, and talk to you soon.